I think they almost have to hand it to her for a couple of reasons. One, it would really divide the party if you were to say not give the nomination to the first African American woman,
Right.
vice president. Also, if you, for tactical logistical reasons, if you throw it open to the convention and let them sort it out, you don't know what's going to come out of that. The majority of people there probably are supportive of Bernie Sanders, AOC, somebody like that. They could say, Kamala Harris, whoa, she's way too moderate. We want somebody in the Bernie AOC mold.
Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with magazine editor David Mark. And David, at the time of this taping, President Joe Biden, still the president, still the Democratic nominee,
Yes.
but his position is looking more and more precarious. So as of the end of this week, the week of the Republican National Convention, do you see Joe Biden having a path to keeping this nomination for the 3 or 4 weeks until he's nominated?
I'm conscious of the fact that this is a fast-moving story and lots can change at any time. But it seems like the ice is really breaking against President Joe Biden, and he seems more open to the notion of not running again. Pretty late in the game, but it's still doable because nobody's been nominated for the Democrats. He has resisted this every step of the way, and his administration, his campaign spokespeople are still saying, no, he's staying in. But behind the scenes, we're hearing some pretty hard pressure from the likes of Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Democratic Leader, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. They're not denying any of these meetings where they've been putting the pressure on him. It's just whether it comes down to really whether he can wants to stand up to them and effectively say, hey, if I'm going down, you're coming with me. And I'm not leaving, so shut up about it, and let's just go and try to do the best we can.
It is July 18th at the time of this taping. The debate was on June 27th. Why is the dam breaking now when, in theory, Democrats had maximum leverage after the debate? Joe Biden hasn't really had any major screw-ups since then. In fact, he's had some rather impressive performances since then.
I'd say he's had some decent performances.
Impressive for the low bar set for Joe Biden.
Fair enough. But what he hasn't done is gone out there repeatedly where you're doing 3 or 4 interviews a day and facing antagonistic questions. Maybe he would go on Fox. Maybe he'd go on Newsmax, something like that. If you really wanted to show that you're up for it, you'd be running around from Nevada to Michigan to Pennsylvania, back to Arizona, several times a week. If you really want to show you're up for it, he doesn't seem like he's really in a physical position to do something like that. So I think Democrats wanted to give it some room, see if he would take the hint. He hasn't. So now they've had to put on the pressure. The problem is if they put on the pressure where it gets to a point they can't back down and he still says no, then it's just a divided party and they basically gain nothing out of all of this.
That's probably why we haven't seen more Democrats come out, right? It's a gamble, not everyone's.
Yeah, and they've really wanted to be circumspect about it, but I think it's just reached a point where the polling is just so consistent at this point. There was a time right after June 27th where some of the polls still showed Biden up by like 2 or 3 points in Michigan and a couple of the other states. All the polling I've seen in the last 3 or 4 days has him down in all 7 swing states, depending how you count it.
Vice President Kamala Harris is mentioned most often as the next successor, certainly the cleanest transition would be to her as the nominee. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think she could be the next nominee? Do you think there's risks with choosing her?
I think they almost have to hand it to her for a couple of reasons. One, it would really divide the party if you were to say not give the nomination to the first African American woman, vice president. Also, if you, for tactical logistical reasons, if you throw it open to the convention and let them sort it out, you don't know what's going to come out of that. The majority of people there probably are supportive of Bernie Sanders, AOC, somebody like that. They could say, Kamala Harris, whoa, she's way too moderate. We want somebody in the Bernie AOC mold, and you never know what can come out of it. I'm not predicting that's what's going to happen, but they almost have to keep control over it and try and hand it off to her, which even then is absolutely no sure thing.
How do you reset a campaign narrative with 3.5 months to go when the entire campaign is built around Joe Biden's experience, his promise to be more unifying, which he somehow is still making despite not having delivered on that in his first term? How do you create an entirely new rationale with just 16 weeks left.
I don't think it would happen, but he could resign and hand the presidency over to Kamala Harris.
She's the only one who could kind of adopt the pre-existing.
Well, she could run a rose garden
argument.
strategy. She could sit there signing executive orders on abortion rights or labor unions or any number of other topics that make her look presidential while still going after Trump and going to swing states. I don't think that's going to happen, but can't rule anything out.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You can get more reporting from David and the rest of the political team at washingtonexaminer.com.